The rise of political movements inspired by the recently concluded American and Ghanaian elections offers a glimmer of hope for the opposition. Ismail Uthman writes, in the wake of the American and Ghanaian presidential elections, several political movements have emerged in Nigeria, each aiming to challenge President Bola Tinubu's re-election in 2027. In both the United States and Ghana, the opposition defeated the ruling parties in landslide victories. In the US, former President Donald Trump of the Republican Party defeated Kamala Harris, the incumbent vice president and candidate of the Democratic Party, in the November 5th election. Similarly, Ghanaian Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia, the presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, lost to the National Democratic Congress's candidate, John Mahama, in the December 7, 2024 elections. Following Trump's election, opposition parties expressed hope that they could replicate the US and Ghanaian political trajectories in Nigeria. The outcome of the Ghanaian election has injected a renewed sense of optimism among opposition parties as they step up their political games towards significant political realignment. On November 26, it was reported that the 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, and his Labour Party counterpart, Peter Obi, and former Kaduna State Governor, Nasser El-Rufai, had concluded plans to form a new political party or adopting an existing one to form a coalition ahead of 2027. After the report, Obi and Atiku met again in Adamawa, Yola State, on November 30th, but the two camps of the political leaders denied having discussions for a joint ticket ahead of the 2027 election. However, Atiku's spokesperson, Paul Ibe, later revealed that the two political leaders had been engaging in discussions to form a united front against the APC. Ibe, who appeared on Channels Television's Politics Today program on December 10th, said, "The truth of the matter is that Atiku Abubakar has promoted opposition parties to work together, to come together. That is the only way they can kick out this incompetent and clueless government. And I believe that discussions have been going on." This was as the People's Redemption Party and African Democratic Congress confirmed that they had initiated discussions with each other on a potential merger ahead of the elections. Similarly, some parties under the aegis of the Coalition of United Political Parties and the Social Democratic Party had also expressed readiness for talks of a possible alliance, saying the country needed more than just a coalition of only Atiku and Obi. Also, former President Olusegun Obasanjo last Saturday hosted former Kano State Governor Rabu Kwankwaso and former Cross River State Governor Donald Duke in Obeokuta, Ogun State, according to Kwankwaso. The discussions centered on significant national issues, including the future of politics and governance in Nigeria. A former Director General of the Progressives Governors Forum, Salihu Lukman, in an open letter titled Satanic Leadership and Nigeria's Boiling Point, on Monday, called on Obasanjo to lead efforts to unify opposition parties to challenge Tinubu in 2027. Lukman warned that disunity within opposition parties would make it easier for President Tinubu to secure a second term. He called on Obasanjo, Gen. Yakubu Gowon Rettet, Gen. Ibrahim Babangida Rettet, Gen. Abdul Salami Abubakar Rettet, Goodluck Jonathan, and Muhammadu Buhari to lead efforts to rally opposition parties. While the rise of these political movements brings hope, it also presents significant challenges. The political landscape in Nigeria is complex. In Nigeria's recent political history, only once has an opposition party defeated a ruling party. In 2015, Buhari of the APC defeated Jonathan of the PDP. Buhari had contested and lost 3 presidential elections before his party, Congress of Progressives Change, the Action Congress of Nigeria, and a faction of the PDP New PDP, merged in 2013 to form the APC. The merger provided a bigger platform to achieve his presidential ambition in 2015 and for his re-election in 2019. If the coalition of major opposition leaders works out like that of the APC in 2013, it will pose a serious challenge to President Tinubu, who won his first election with a 1.8 million vote margin. In the 2023 presidential election, Tinubu polled 8,794,726, 36.61% to defeat the runner-up, Atiku Abubakar. who secured 6,984, 520 29.07%. Obi, the LP candidate, had 6,101,533 votes, 25.40%, while Kwankwaso, the candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, polled 1,496,687, 6.40%. Atiku, Obi, and Kwankwaso's votes totaled 14,582,740. Beyond the coalition of these individuals, many analysts believe that President Tinubu would face the challenge of convincing people for his re-election because of his economic crisis, which the opposition has already capitalized on to discredit his government. Analysts argue that a similar scenario won the election for Ghana's opposition leader, John Mahama, as the country's economy plummeted, went through a debt crisis, default, and currency devaluation. Analyzing why the opposition won the Ghanaian election, The Guardian Weekly, an international news magazine based in London, said economic hardship was a major factor. At one point, inflation was as high as 50%, and the city plummeted to historic lows, while the number of taxes increased. A banking sector purge that was hailed by economists, but led to thousands of job losses, also angered voters, as did a bloated government in which several relatives of the president and ruling party members served. Currently, Nigeria's inflation is at 34.6%, while the country's debt stands at an 134.3 TN. The rise in inflation is largely driven by food price increases, which continue to place a strain on Nigerian households. Commenting, the National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Debo Olagunega, expressed optimism that there would be a replica of the US and Ghanaian elections in Nigeria, considering the similarities in the two countries' economies. But Olagunega said the replica could only be achieved if the Independent National Electoral Commission allowed elections to be free and fair, and respected the people's will. He said, "You will see the replica if INEC allows the election to be free and fair. The American and Ghanaian elections reflect the will of the people, and you have independent electoral bodies that are willing to respect that will." The challenge of elections in Nigeria is not just the people. Yes, the APC has promoted poverty as an act of governance that has impaired the capacity to make rational decisions. But beyond that, even when the people make a decision and vote, INEC does not allow the people's will to prevail as expressed in the ballot. INEC has been the major challenge for the electoral process, and so the issue of the opposition party winning will be a mirage, except INEC is informed, and INEC leadership is certain that it allows the will of the people to prevail. But there is a snag here, and that is a caution for the country. He warned of grievous consequences if the will of the people was not allowed to prevail. When you don't allow the will of the people to prevail, the consequences for democracy can be grave, Olagunega stated. The PDP spokesperson said the Ghanaian election gave hope to the Nigerian opposition for the 2027 presidential election. The Ghanaians were angry because of the ill-advised policies of the government in that country, and the people expressed it. In Nigeria, you can feel the economic hardship. You know that the twin policy of irresponsible floating of the naira and withdrawal of subsidy on petroleum products without any cushioning effect is what brought us to this level. So, when you have a government that does not respect the will of the people and how the welfare of the people matters under the Constitution, what happened in Ghana is the consequence of such behavior. Similarly, the NNPP also stated that the Ghanaian election had increased the opposition's hope of winning the 2027 presidential election. The Ghanaian election has given us confidence as opposition parties that we just have to keep working, said the spokesman for the NNPP, Ladipo Johnson. However, Johnson maintained that for Nigeria to have a replica of the Ghanaian election, the institutions must allow the will of the people to prevail. He said, "The Ghanaian election has increased our hope. We hope that Nigerians, especially those in authority, like INEC, the police, and others, see that the will of the people must be allowed to prevail. That is the key to it. We need stronger institutions in Nigeria. Our institutions are weak. A lot of the people in our institutions wrongly feel that they owe a sense of duty to either the president or the governor, or local government chairman or whoever appointed them. Meanwhile, their duty is to the Constitution and to the Commonwealth and the well-being of the people of Nigeria." The moment public servants start to feel that they owe a duty to an individual, then democracy is gradually being eroded. Once we get to that stage, once there is reasonably a level playing ground, then the will of the people will come through. Johnson said the opposition parties were hopeful that the wind of change in Ghana would extend to Nigeria. When you see the system of one of your neighboring countries improving, you always hope that the wind of improvement and positive change will blow your way. Things tend to influence each other, and that was why when there was a coup in Niger, a lot of people were panicking in Nigeria, because we all know that at times, the wind blows from area to area, country to country. The Ghanaian election has given us confidence, as opposition parties, that we just have to keep working. We just have to keep talking to Nigerians, and make them understand that when someone is giving you palliatives, it means that the government is not working properly, he added. Johnson said the NNPP was open to coalition because the party believed in good governance and it wanted the best for Nigeria. If we need to enter into a partnership, into a coalition, into a merger, to bring about a government that will help move this country forward, salvage this country, and move it forward, then so be it, he stated. But the APC said it was not frightened by the political movements of the opposition figures, describing the participants as enemies of the country. Speaking with Sunday Punch, the publicity secretary of the APC in Oyo State, Olawale Sada, said there was no serious opposition currently in Nigeria that could threaten President Tinubu's re-election. They have every right to be optimistic, but the fact is that winning an election goes beyond mere wishes. They need to work for it. As it stands now, we do not even have any opposition at the federal level. My fear is that we may not even have anything called PDP or Labour Party in 2027, said Sada. According to him, discerning minds would support Tinubu in 2027 because of his performance and pedigree. President Bola Tinubu is not resting on his oars. He is performing, and the 2027 election will be determined on account of pedigree and performance. When we move closer to 2027, every discerning mind in Nigeria will queue behind the president. So, in APC, we don't have any cause to panic. Why should we be frightened by the opposition's political movements or realignments? They are a bunch of clowns. They just want to remain in the heart of the media. These are known enemies of the country. You talk about a former president or his co-travelers. So, we are not bothered. They can afford to meet on an hourly basis. It is none of our business. Also, the publicity secretary of the APC in Lagos State, Sai Olodayo, described the political movements and optimism of the opposition parties as wishful thinking that would not materialize. Olodayo said those involved in political realignment were those who had failed the country at one time or the other. He stated the political and economic situations of the US and Ghana were not the same as Nigeria's, promising that whatever seemed to be hardship now in Nigeria would no longer be in place in 2027. The Lagos APC spokesperson said, the opposition has been busy daydreaming in recent times, and for reasons that are known to them. They are drooling over the results of the election in Ghana and the US. One could wonder if they have been able to situate those results properly. But the truth of the matter is the situations in Ghana and the US are not exactly the same as Nigeria's. The only thing that would be comparable would be that Nigerians will vote for good governance being put across by APC at different levels in 2027. There is nothing in the camp of the so-called opposition parties to elicit the confidence of Nigerians to entrust them with the mantle of leadership. They are daydreaming. I can assure you that before 2027, a lot of things that have been put in place in terms of the reforms would have started yielding fruits. The ruling APC government means well for all.